French squad for the Rugby World Cup 2023, folks, has been named. We are going to go through Fabien Galthie's 33 selections, some of the omissions, the fixtures, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how these guys are going to go. Remember, as we said here at the moment, joint favourites with the All Blacks to take home the title. Speaking of home, they are at home, obviously, with the tournament being in France. And in France has been the place where France have been remarkably difficult to beat. If I am not mistaken, it's only Scotland who has managed that feat under Fabien Galthie. So, yeah, these guys, it's young, but it's likewise experienced. Like, in this current coaching regime, they've built things, over these last few years, given some young guys experience, constantly brought guys in, especially during those mid-year tests, to see how well they can adapt to test rugby. And here we are, less than a month out from the tournament. Bourgarit, Marchand, and Mauvaka, those are your three hookers. I don't think there's any surprise there. We still feel like Marchand is the leading candidate to start the biggest of the games. But if it's Mauvaka or even if it's Bourgarit, I think you'd be pretty happy with the Toulouse and La Rochelle guys there. Aldegheri, Atonio, Baille, Falatea, Gros, Wardi are the 6 props. Keeping in mind that Cyril Baille is still nursing an injury. They did mention both him and Julien, who is in addition to the squad. And basically the conclusion that Galthie came by was saying they've spoken to the medical staff, the physios, and that these guys aren't going to be ready for the first game. That's an accepted fact, but hopefully for the second, if not the second, the third, and definitely by the 4th game. So, by the time we get to the end of the pool stages at the end of September, both those guys, Julien and Baille, are going to be ready, and they are basically such good players and important enough players to the French squad that it's worth carrying them even with injuries. And, I mean, to be fair, both those guys have been very, very important in everything that Galthie's squad has been doing. Baille, in particular, is just one of my favourite props in the world, so I'm glad to see him there. Atonio is the oldest guy in the squad at 33, which for some squads would certainly be far from the oldest, and he's most likely the biggest at like his 140 odd kilos, but yeah, it'll be. It makes sense to take 6 props with Baille still nursing a bit of an injury. Locks, Flament, Taofifenua, Willemse, and Woki. All those guys are fit, which is pleasing, and I will be curious to see whether they opt at all to go with the 2 kind of lighter locks and Woki, Flament together, or they stick with the big units, Willemse or Taofifenua. They tend to pair one with the other, but they haven't been afraid to pair Woki with Flament at times. Flament's got a heck of a work rate, and Woki is one of the best line-out operators in the world. So I think you'd be pretty happy with that. And back row, Aldrit, Boudon, Gros, Gelon, Makalou, and Olivon. Boudon is the youngest forward at 23. He's kind of also, I think, the least capped forward, just coming into the squad in recent times, but for La Rochelle, he's been remarkably consistent as well. Aldrit, with his unbelievable rate of carrying, is pretty much a lock for the starting 15 as well. He's pretty much the top carrier for every single game that he plays. Julien is your bit of jack of all trades guy, but as I mentioned, he's not going to be fit for a while and hasn't played any rugby since, February when he got injured. And, yeah, Olivon's been in cracking form as well. So how do you pick him? It's a good problem to have for Galthie. He did also highlight the ability of some of these guys to cover multiple positions in the forwards, like Mauvaka, who can cover the back row, Boudon, who can move into centre if needs be, and Makalou, who has covered the wings, like Julien can cover the entire back row. So yeah, they've got versatility, they've got youth. The average age is only 27.5, so one of the younger forward packs you've seen. And yeah, interestingly, they do have experience because, like I said, despite these guys being young, they have been getting game times over the cycle. There are a few guys on standby. Creton is maybe the main kind of omission from that squad. Leroux used to be a mainstay of the squad, but he's been injured for quite some time. Tonga and Varaga also there. Leroux has been getting some game time recently, but he's on standby. Demba Bamba picked up an injury, and he's not made the 23, but I did read that he is on the kind of standby list as well. So yeah, those guys, some of them are going to get a chance before this World Cup is over because there will be more injuries. The backs, Kuyu, Dupont, and Luku are the 3 halfbacks. Dupont is captain, which is absolutely no surprise there. Luku and Dante are actually the oldest backs at 30. So it's a very, very young backline. But Dupont at only 26 has already played 48 games, test games, I think. So that's what I mentioned about the squad being kind of young, but also kind of experienced at the same time. Astoy and Jalibert are your 2 10s. And they've got Ramos there at fullback who can cover 10 if needs be. And they've got a similar theme with the backs being able to cover multiple positions as the forwards. Midfielders Dante, Fiku, Vincent and Moefana. Moefana is one who can cover the wing also if needs be. It's in terms of that kind of versatility factor. And then the bolter, I think if there is anyone who is kind of surprised by coming from outside of the, like as an uncapped player to going to the World Cup, that's Louis Bielle-Biarrey, who is, just been getting a couple of caps in the recent games, like 3 caps, 2 starts, 1 from the bench, and he looks electric. He's only 20 years old, missed the under-20s tournament, but now makes a World Cup, so wow, what a rise from that guy, and he's looked the part. He's come into Test Rugby absolutely flying, but then you've got the established guys of Penaud, Villiers there as well on the wings, and Jaminet and Ramos as your 2 fullbacks. So the average age of the backs is like not even 26, just under 26. So yeah, Dante with his defensive powerhouse game will likely partner Fiku. Fiku missed everywhere in the backline, and I think the most capped guy in the squad with 80. So yeah, it's a real mix. Dupont certainly one of the best, if not the best player in the world, man. Jaminet with his goal kicking, and then Ramos. That's a good problem to have also for the coach. With goal-kicking fullbacks there. Who are the guys that miss out? I guess Brice Toulon and Baptiste Serrant are the 2 main guys who you would say have been in there or thereabouts recently. Insamak is obviously injured, which is, I think, breaking the hearts of certainly all the French rugby fans, but also just rugby fans generally who want to see the best players on display. Ethan Dumotier has seemingly lost his spot to Bielle-Biarrey, and then Emilien Gaiton is unfortunate in that he missed the Under-20s World Cup to train with the French squad, but he got a cap, and he's been, as Fabien Galthie said, he's like among the best 42 players in France, but doesn't quite make the cut, but he's also on standby if needs be. So yeah, man, like I said, France, they've been bloody good over the last few years, and I mean, the fact that Insamak is injured is the main kind of red flag or thing that just seems a bit disappointing, but with Jalibert there, I feel like you've got a pretty bloody capable replacement. Like the drop from Insamak to Jalibert, if you even want to call it a drop, is like different from, like, as if from a New Zealand perspective, when we had Dan Carter in 2011 and we had like Colin Slade as our next guy. I feel like that was a big difference in class. Like Colin Slade's a good player, but Dan Carter's a legend, whereas Jalibert and Insamak are both bloody good players. So yeah, obviously it's nice having Dupont and Insamak together because they play for their club together, but as I said, I think you'd be not too disappointed with Jalibert leading the lineup, and Astoy got a game the other day, which was pleasing. Fixtures-wise, they've got 1 more warm-up game against Australia this weekend. Now, remember, they did rest a few guys like Dupont, like Marchand, like Fiku at the weekend, so they may or may not bring these guys back in to get them a bit of match sharpness. And then from the Australian game, it's first up against New Zealand, which is certainly one of the biggest games of the pool stages, followed by Uruguay, Namibia, and then Italy. Obviously, more pressure goes on the Italy game if you lose against New Zealand, but either way, they'll want to be going 4 from 4 in the pool stages and giving themselves the best possible chance they can. But those quarterfinals for the teams on this side of the draw are looking pretty hairy either way, but you got to get there first. You guys let us know your thoughts on the French squad. If you want French rugby gear, check out Level Rugby. They've got jerseys, which are looking pretty slick. They've got hoodies, they've got training shirts, they've got all kinds of French gear. Link down in the description for Level Rugby. They're an affiliate of the channel, so if you are looking for some French gear, why not use that link down the bottom? Do the 2 cents a favor. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on the French squad. How do you think they're going to go? And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.